Indicted 12 Russians yesterday. Their claim is that 12 military intelligence officers from Russia hacked into both the DNC and the Clinton campaign and then proceeded to release tens of thousands of emails in the hopes of swaying the election towards Trump. Now, Mueller's previous round of indictments were for Russians utilizing social media for spreading politically charged ads, even though there were only about 100 ads that were actually deemed politically charged. So the first round of indictments were like if you brought someone to court for stealing $20 from you. It was petty, and the overall effect of what they even did was pretty small. But the key difference in this Mueller case, the current Mueller case right now, is that indicting any Russian is a huge news story. And I'd be saying the same exact thing if Russians ran pro-Hillary and anti-Trump ads, even if Hillary won. I mean, if we're talking only 100 ads having any real effect on how someone votes, but Trump got his doors blown off on a landslide election and a ton of Trump supporters and Trump voters were illegal, so he didn't win the pop vote either, then I'd be saying that Republicans need to stop wasting taxpayer money investigating something with no real basis. And since the amount of the outside influence on our election would play into my decision to criticize it, when we're looking at what actually happened, we need to consider the entire sphere of foreign influence. I'd say that Hillary Clinton and the DNC working with Christopher Steele, a British citizen, to produce the dossier of lies to sway the election made use of foreign interference. And what about Obama and his FBI and DOJ getting the illegal Russian spy Natalia Veselnitskaya into the country for a setup meeting with Carter Page, Jared Kushner, and Trump Jr., which was supposed to serve as the basis for a wiretap warrant. But then they started wiretapping even though they were denied the warrant. It wasn't until months later that they were finally approved for the warrant, because it was at that point also that the warrant would serve as cover for the previous months of wiretapping. But I digress. Okay, this is about Mueller's indictments. And these indictments are a bit more than just a news story, unfortunately. There's still a good portion of the country that worshipped Bill Maher and the Young Turks and leftist propaganda outlets that masquerade as unbiased news sources. These people are not inclined to mistrust Peter Strzok or the FBI or the intelligence community, even though people so quickly forget about the WMD flub. I listened to Bill Maher talk all about how he trusts what our FBI says. And that's a position taken in a way that an ideologue would take it. He gives no basis for his trust, and he couldn't argue the opposition because I believe it was Ben Shapiro who was up there talking with him. When Shapiro argued the opposition, instead of Maher saying anything actually useful, his retort was typical mainstream rhetoric. And I'm laying out this foundation of really understanding this key factor of believing the intel community or not, because it's the dividing line between those who see Mueller's indictments as huge and shocking blows to the credibility of Trump's presidency, and those who see it as a smokescreen for something far more evil lurking down the rabbit hole of the Clinton DNC hack. Because you see, Kim.com offered proof to Mueller that Seth Rich was the leaker, and Mueller did nothing with it. I mean, just the download speed alone is enough to disqualify Russian hackers, but Kim.com was offering more than that, and Mueller didn't care. I mean, at this point, if Kim.com actually has proof, he should find a way to release it anonymously. Just flood the internet with it, and it'll never go away. But if there's certain things that could be revealed that would jeopardize the chance of prosecuting someone involved with it, then take the legal route. And once the court documents are released, then everybody will see the truth. I mean, I see these indictments by Mueller as nothing more than cover for the fairy tales of the deep state. It helps reassure people screaming against Trump that they're right. And it further unifies their base. I mean, it also solidifies their belief that Seth Rich wasn't murdered in connection with anything involving the DNC or Hillary Clinton. They get to call it a conspiracy theory and then never think about it again. And on sort of a deeper level, this works to absolve Hillary and the DNC of any wrongdoing in the minds of these radical leftists or the people that succumb to this ideology. But that doesn't entirely explain the timing of the release of these indictments. I mean, one thing that's certain is that the deep state and the modern day left is dead set on war with Russia or North Korea so that they can vilify Trump. I mean, if they can spark a war, then Trump's presidency can be projected all around as a failure. So that's why these indictments are released ahead of Trump's meeting with Putin on this coming Monday. It's really to try to stoke tensions between them. But I'm sure that they both know the truth. The problem is that Trump will be vilified further by the media if they don't discuss the indictments, or if Trump reaches any kind of peace with Putin. They'll scream, how could he possibly reach peace with someone who would try to sway our elections and put our democracy in such great jeopardy? But they'll completely ignore any actual progress that's made from the meeting. I mean, the media has gotten so far away from any actual issues of economics and trade and just the interplay of powers on the world stage that, I mean, they've become so deluded to that they're just busy running around sewing up every bleeding heart. Every issue is superficial and emotionally charged with no real substance beyond agenda. That's why people think Trump is an idiot who's screwing us over on the world stage. They might be educated on their own ideology, but they're ignorant to reality. Maybe if Sadiq Khan is calling Trump bad, it's worth looking at what Sadiq Khan considers good. If Angela Merkel is criticizing Trump, look at how her country is doing. If Trudeau wants to throw shade at the US, maybe we should stop protecting them and watch them get conquered by tomorrow afternoon. But again, this video is about Mueller and his indictments. So it's just that there's so much that ties into all of this. And the other angle that's worth looking at and taking into consideration is one that's zoomed out a bit more than the previous. What exactly did these Russians allegedly do? They allegedly hacked Hillary Clinton and the DNC and released tens of thousands of emails. They released real emails from public officials regarding matters of public concern. The Clinton campaign and the DNC never denied the legitimacy of these emails, but rather they screamed about being hacked. And I'm not going in depth on the emails right now, but for the love of God, what was released through WikiLeaks is monstrous. And it digs multiple Clinton rabbit holes that much deeper. Plus, let's not pretend like Hillary Clinton didn't threaten war with Russia by saying that cyber attacks would be treated like any other attack after WikiLeaks published her emails 5.5 months earlier, and the Russia conspiracy was in the process of being ingrained in the public. If Russia was trying to sway our election, it's not because they wanted Trump, it's because they didn't want Hillary Clinton, the warmonger. They don't want war. But again, I digress. In the indictments themselves, there were no Americans charged, although there were unidentified Americans involved with the Russian military agents, including a person close to the Trump campaign and a candidate for Congress. First, person close to the Trump campaign is too vague to mean anything substantial right now. And second, the legitimacy of these charges is very shaky, so who's connected is largely irrelevant. And there's also no claim anywhere that these men actually affected the outcome of the election or swayed tons of people in any meaningful way. But now they're pushing for information on Roger Stone and WikiLeaks. So we'll have to see if WikiLeaks actually turns anything over. I tend to think that they won't, but if they do, it'll clear all of this up. So, or, at least most of it. So that's all for this video. There's a lot of tentacles just sort of branching off of this story, but I hope that I covered it fairly well. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you haven't, Patreon, donation, and merch links are all below.